You're listening to Real Conversations, where every week we take a peek at the favorite movies of fascinating people. Real Conversations is hosted by Bryan Coley, the founder of Art Within and Real.
Welcome back to Real Conversations with Bryan Coley, and I am your guest host, Kim Bird, and we are covering the Oscar winners today, which have been talked about and kind of crazy. So, Bryan, I'm going to hand it off to you because I'm still flipped over with all the changes that happened.
Yeah, what did you think of that drastic, dramatic, what a climax to
my goodness,
a ceremony, an Oscar ceremony, right?
Yeah, I'm first off, I'm still exhausted from staying up way too late. But it was surprising. I mean, I wouldn't say upsetting. I mean, upsetting for the people, for La La Land, who was up there already giving speeches for sure.
Right.
But it was a crazy twist. I've never seen anything like it.
See, and this is where I know that people listening to this will go, okay, Bryan, stop it with the God thing. But I really do think it was God, actually, that designed that climax.
Oh, my gosh.
And the reason is because you know how we have been talking about Will We Be a We, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so on that stage was La La Land, which was predominantly white, and Moonlight, which was predominantly African-American, and here they were on stage trying to share the same stage and trying to become a we.
Yes.
And that producer from La La Land was so gracious.
Oh, my gosh. How classy.
He was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And giving, saying it's going to be my pleasure to give this trophy to them and everything like that. And it was like a we was happening on stage. They were coming together.
I was so impressed with
right?
that. To
Humbling
be honest,
themselves,
would I have been like that? I don't know. I might have been crying
my
and
gosh.
eye makeup, but it was such a... I mean, he just so boldly said it. It didn't even seem forced. It wasn't like, okay, I'm sorry, there's been a mistake. He was just, my pleasure. I was like, wow.
Exactly. So to me, it was like, here we had the dramatic question that we've been talking about will we be a we? And it was demonstrated on the stage for us what it looks like, for them to do that. And then I thought it was also very ironic because, La La Land gives you two endings, right?
Oh my! I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, so La La Land has the epilogue with the two endings, and I was like, this is like La La Land. We're getting two different endings.
I know.
To the Oscar ceremony.
Like, is this when you have the baby with Ryan Gosling, or you have your own new life?
Exactly.
Which one is this?
Yeah, and I think that's a part of diving into this a little bit was looking at the irony of that because, if we were talking today about La La Land winning, we would be talking about how they answered the question, will we be a we? And in reality, as far as the Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone character, they don't become a we in the movie, right?
Yeah, they don't, which is disappointing.
Right. So
for some people, I guess.
The answer of will we become a we for the sake of family or home or anything like that is no, right? And that's how that's answered with that movie because... if you really think about it pragmatically, because they chose their ambition over true love, right? Mm. And yet you have this other movie whose ending is Moonlight, in which we look at love being pretty much how the movie ends, that love is chosen at the end in relationship to going back to the past. So I thought it was ironic in the fact that we got one ending which is La La Land wins the Oscars, in which you and I would be talking about ambition today.
Right.
And yet it's actually the flip of La La Land, where instead of getting ambition, we got love as the real ending, which is Moonlight winning, So it was, I just have this sensibility that God's in control of things, and I just thought it was a wonderful irony that God was probably just sitting there in heaven going, you know what, I'm going to play La La Land with this Oscar
totally
ceremony, and I'm going to flip it where actually love wins and not ambition.
You really did. I mean, the entire award season, you just, La La Land, you just heard so much all the time. So everyone just assumed. I mean, it was an assumption that is like, oh, that's who's going to win. I have my ballot. I never did download it, but I would have checked off La La Land is going to be the winner. So it was,
definitely. Right.
Yeah. And it was interesting because it was such an authentic response by everyone. Even all the cast of Moonlight, they were genuinely in shock too. It was like they kept saying, "Wake me up from a dream. Like, is this happening?" And it was just. I'm sorry for all of you people who decided to go to bed early and you didn't faithfully stick it out to the very end, or
whoever watched it. They said it was really low ratings, and it was the wrong Oscar not to watch. As far as ratings is concerned.
And poor Warren Beatty. I mean, he was just like. listen, I'm sorry. I didn't, I mean, I felt for them too.
Which again, here I am as a movie guy, so I appreciate the irony of that too, right? Because Faye Dunaway and Warren Beatty are most known for what movie?
Bonnie and Clyde.
Bonnie and Clyde. And what happens at the end of Bonnie and Clyde?
They both end up dead.
They both end up getting bullets shot at them. And I'm like, this is happening again. They're getting bullets shot at them.
And it's who's to say? I mean, I know my husband was like, he should have stopped the show and asked. I'm like, but who does that in the middle of the show? And you're already got the band playing in the bottom, trying to move you along. And the pressure. I don't know what I've had the courage.
It was like Adam and Eve, on stage, because it was like, here, you eat this apple.
It's so true. People keep saying him, but he really did look messed up and passed it to her, and she said La La Land. And it was like, I don't know. It was, I know people keep saying Steve Harvey is feeling much better today.
Right. Well, I was interested because I went and saw La La Land Saturday just to prepare for the fact it would probably win and just to refresh myself. And it was funny because I liked La La Land, and I'm the kind of person who should like La La Land because I'm an artist, I'm a dreamer, all that kind of stuff. And but I was always bothered by the ending of the film, and because just for me, I just believe you can have both in this life. I've gotten both. I've gotten love as well as my dreams, and to have it be such a stark, like you got to choose one over the other, just really bothered me. And I think that's good. I think the reason I liked it the second viewing was because I just love a movie that makes you wrestle. Like, I love movies that when you walk out, you've got to talk to someone about it, and you've got to figure out, well, it just surfaces everything inside of you to go, okay, what do I believe about love? What do I believe about ambition? And how have I lived my life? So I really had a greater appreciation of it on Saturday. So I was kind of ready for us to talk about this today and really dive into it. But Moonlight, I wasn't ready for, and I know you saw it.
I was not ready for Moonlight.
You had to go see it last night.
I did.
To be ready for this. So,
I'll just
tell
confess.
me about it.
I knew that there would be. I'm real sensitive to films that are sad, so I was kind of saving Manchester by the Sea and Moonlight to later on to kind of see, because Fences about took me out as it was. So I was like, I gotta go sadder than that. And it was, there were things about it that really moved me, that just gave me just an empathetic picture and a heart for this boy. I definitely think the film did such a great job there. Now, where it lands as far as love, I still struggled with the character.
So tell me about that, because I know that you based on our experience of doing Real together, you are really high on making sure that there is an ending that feels very complete. And
that's true. I like completion, and even if it's not necessarily the way that I want it to be, I'm not big on the imagination. Like, even La La Land was like, pick one, just pick one for me. But just, I like to know, where are we going? What does this mean? And so they really do leave you with like, well, it could be either way. How do you want to proceed with the ending? And I didn't get that full ending that I like. I like the closure.
It's we've talked about this before. It's kind of reminiscent to me of the postmodern movies of the 90s, where you have just a baby step towards hope, versus a giant step towards hope.
Right.
And for a lot of people, that baby step is not enough. It doesn't feel satisfying enough, because you're like, well, I really don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah, like, how is this man going to... I couldn't figure out his pain. Like, I wanted him to resolve his pain in so many different ways. And I think I just, whether it was, I had compassion for his mom, and I could appreciate her tenderness towards him and her apology. But then I wanted more. And then the friend he connected with, I wanted an apology. And but I like resolution and relationships to be repaired. And so I struggled with kind of, things were still kind of left a little bit sad to me. And I didn't feel, I don't know, I just didn't have that big of a sense of hope that I wanted.
Well, and I have to confess, I had a different reaction Sunday night than I did Monday morning towards, I think it was such a shocker to me, as well as there was an element, because of so much of the commercials were about this We Will Rise, with just telling the past story of the struggle of the gay community, to gain equality. And so I kept seeing that, and then Moonlight won, and there was something just rising inside of me that Monday morning I really had to sit with God and go, what's going on, God, And I think it was just classic God to convict me and go, Bryan, you're so okay with Hidden Figures because you don't mind going back and getting a complete picture of the African-American experience and their past, but how okay are you about going back and getting a complete picture of what it feels like to be gay, and the struggle of just, of that struggle in general? And so I was really convicted to really dive into Moonlight and go, what does this say? And how can I view this as a means of being the very thing that we're talking about as far as what we see as the pattern in all of these movies, which is in order to become a we have to go back to the past, and we have to have a complete story and include other people's stories. So to me, it was very humbling for me to go, this is a part of us including another story. And if you're African American and you're gay, then this movie speaks totally to your experience. Two different levels. And if you're gay, I think this movie speaks to your experience of just coming of age. Anybody who's dealt with struggling with their sexual identity, I imagine that they just went, "This is my life. This is my story." Well, it's not my life. It's not my story. But how much more do I have to lean into that and go, what? I need to understand this story and really lean into what it says, even as a metaphor for what we've been talking about, which is that we have to lean in order to become a we've got to lean into the stories that maybe make us a little bit more uncomfortable or are part of our past, or even the sins that we've had in our past. To me as a Christian, we have been the villain in a lot of stories, gay people's stories. We've been that villain, right? Yeah. We've been the one who's persecuted them. We've been the one who has
people going to the funerals and picketing when someone is grieving and
if there's
pain
a face
and hurting
of a villain for the gay community, it's probably Christians, and it saddens. I think it saddens most people who are Christians because we don't want to be known for that. We want to be known for love, and so. But when it's all said and done, the rubber hitting the road is for us to be able to embrace a movie like Moonlight and say, this is a story that I need to know. I need to understand because it's a part of their story. It's a part of their past, and it's a part of me understanding the past, just like I'm going back right now and really trying to understand the Jim Crow South with African Americans and to really empathize with that and to really ask for forgiveness for that and to really forgive myself with that. There's a part of that I feel like is true that I think God may be orchestrating with regard to Moonlight. And how much better would it be for us as Christians to be on the front of that versus being behind that? It seems like, with the racial issue, Christians have never led with that. Let me rephrase that, because I watched Eyes on the Prize the other day, and I was watching all these white people marching on the bridge at Selma, and advocating. So there's always been a voice of Christianity that has empathized with the oppressed or with people struggling. But I would love to see more of that. And for me, maybe I'm asking that of myself too, that the only person I need to talk to in the room is me, which is how much are you giving a sense of empathy and asking forgiveness, and the same thing that you're talking about as far as going back to the past. How much are you willing to go back to the past with that voice also?
Yeah, so I do think that is what a movie can do, is it can give you that moment to step in and just empathize and to really see people and see their pain. Because I have not been in a situation where, because I was different, that people are chasing me down the street, threatening me and calling me names. I can't even get a proper education because I'm fearful of when I'm going to be beat up. Yeah. And it makes me sad because I believe that the story is based off of a true story. A lot of the instances were the things that the writer went through and shared.
I definitely know the part about the mom who was addicted to crack. I think was true based on what I've heard. Yeah. There's
this idea that when you haven't experienced something, it's very easy to say they, those people,
That's right.
They, and we also, Auntie Stanley said recently that the further away you are from the problem, the easier